Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I'm Gautam working as a SDE2 at Uber. Today I'm here to talk about my interview experience that I had at Uber for the SDE2 development role. So let's get started with the video. I will briefly help you understand what was the interview process. I will give you the outline, how many rounds were there, what kind of interviews were they. But I won't be giving you any details about specific rounds, say what kind of questions will be asked. But pretty much most are familiar when it comes to top companies. What kind of questions are being asked is pretty much familiar, and you can go Google it and figure it out. So being that said, today we are going to talk about the experience, the overall, how much time did it take, how many rounds were there, all these details. Okay, so let's get started with this video. So firstly, let's talk about how did I get this interview opportunity. So I was not actually looking for any jobs at that moment, but I had my resume updated in almost all the portals, and one random day I just opened Insta Hire and SD2 role was just showing up on the first entry. So since it was an SD2 role, I just wanted to go ahead and apply, but I did not expect to receive any interview calls back because most of the places when you go and apply, you don't hear back, right? So what happened was after 24 hours, I received an email from the recruiter stating that they are actually hiring, and they told me to complete they sent me an assessment and they told me to complete it in the next 2 days, I believe. So I just did some preparation a little bit, like went back to my notes, prepared some data structures algorithms, and gone back to the portal to start attending that assessment, and I was able to clear most of the questions except the last question. Only one question I actually did not clear all the test cases. I cleared almost, but 4 or 5 unit tests were actually pending, which means those test cases were not passing. So and then I submitted that. Then they basically asked people who has actually completed the assessment to come and attend the interview offline, which means in the campus of Uber itself at Bangalore. At that time, I was working at Chennai at Amazon, so I would have to travel for this interview, and it was scheduled in the next 4 days. I think it was almost Tuesday when I received this confirmation that I have cleared the assessment, and then within that Saturday I had to prepare everything, computer science fundamentals, and then data structures, algorithms, and system design. I had to prepare all of them. So in that case, next, like, I planned and then I traveled to Bangalore, stayed there, and then went to the office campus itself to attend the interview. So I reached the office campus, and on the day I just realized, like, I was not the only one who was called for the interview. There were a room full of people, at least 100 and 130 people who are going to be interviewed just for that one single day. And I realized it is a bulk hiring that is happening across Uber for all the different teams. So in that case, what happened was I actually went through, sat there, and started actually looking at people. People were all from different companies, say Google, Microsoft, and all top companies were sitting around me, and it was quite good to attend an interview in office because I was able to approach with many people around that space. I spoke to many folks from different companies, get ideas about their companies for working. I met people from Adobe, I met people from Google, all of them. So even though I felt after some time, I really felt like the connections that we made there are much more better compared to either we clear the interviews or not at Uber, is the kind of feeling I had on that day. So next, going forward, they called people for interviews one by one. They basically called out the names and then they mapped them to specific interviewers. They will take us to separate rooms. There are meeting rooms around, so we will be taken to the meeting rooms, and going forward we'll have the interviews, whatever the questions they want to ask, all that will go forward. So that's how the interview experience was. So let me talk about each and every round. Apart from the round that I had online, which is a DSA round, problem solving round online. After going to the office, the first round was again a DSA round, and the second round was also a DSA round. But here they were able to ask two questions in each of those rounds. If you are actually fast, they will ask two questions. If you are a little slow and taking time, they might avoid the second question. I had two questions in each of the rounds, and it was two different interviewers. The first interviewer, he will continue to take the interviews, and if he will come back and drop you back in the same place where he picked, and then they will have the results from the person who has interviewed you. For the next round, they will map you to a different interviewer. So the second round was also a DSA round, which had two questions basically, and both the rounds, I would say, it was almost like medium to hard level questions. And I would say in my second DSA round, I had some DP questions which I had to clarify a lot of questions. So going forward, after this two rounds, almost like it was half the day, and most of the people were interviewed. And then post that, they have already arranged lunch for all the interviewees and interviewers who came to the office premise itself. And then post that, it was like around 1 o'clock or something, and I was called out for the low level design round, which means the LLD round. So again, I was mapped to another interviewer who actually took the LLD round for me. I think he's a senior engineer in the team. So he pulled me into a meeting room and then we started discussing about a problem, and they expect the code to be completely working. So one thing that I would want to mention is that in Uber, in any of the interviews you go inside, so they don't actually ask you to simply write in a doc or something like that. You will have a very good platform to write the code, and then the code has to completely execute and it should basically pass the test cases as was at least the test cases in the sense like whatever the interviewer has given you as a test cases, you will have to dry run things and it has to completely execute and work. Even for LLD round, that was the expectation. But for the LLD round, what happened was it was quite difficult for me because with C++ being a background, I did not expect them that they would ask me to actually write a code that will completely execute as well. So started having some discussions around the problems, took some clarification questions, explained the approach and everything, and he asked me to write the actual code in the editor. So I wrote that and took some time to debug so that the code has to run and execute the way that it was designed and discussed before in the LLD round itself. So that's how the LLD round. Out of all the rounds, I felt this LLD round was little harder side because it almost took a lot of time because I was debugging most of the time. But they made sure that every round is not more than 45 minutes to 1 hour. It's a hard stop 45 minutes most of the times, not go beyond that. Almost 50 minutes, 1 hour you will be left out. So before that, you will have to write the code, execute. You'll have to discuss the ideas, all of that. So completing this LLD round, I was not sure how the results are going to be, but because I was waiting for the next call, if I without knowing if I will be called out for the next round or not based on the past 3 rounds performance. So we were waiting, and that time we were talking about different things from different companies. Because people from different companies were surrounded, and we were. It was very exciting to know about many different companies and the kind of projects they work in, and how far the work-life balance is. We discussed all those details, and I felt very productive that day. Even though it's not about just going and giving an interview, it was about collaborating with people from different places and understanding the diverse set of skill sets people bring in, say like what kind of skills do they have, what kind of experiences they have with individual companies wherever they work in. So it was so exciting to hear all of them. So that is what I mean, it was a very productive day, actual productive and open day to hear two ideas that day. So going forward, after a long time, I was called out for a next round, which was a hiring manager round. By the time it was 4 o'clock, mapped me to one of the hiring managers there who will be taking the interview for me. It was 4 o'clock and looks like it was a time for snacks. So I went with the manager who was actually hiring manager is basically a manager who will be assigned to you. So they will evaluate your past experiences, your projects that you have worked on, how well you can communicate and collaborate within a team. They will ask all these details and then they will basically note it down, see, and give you ratings based on that. So that is what this round basically targets on. So we picked some snacks and then we got into a meeting room and we basically started getting questions regarding my past projects and what kind of projects I have worked on, what kind of tech stacks I have built applications on, and then like how was my team and some kind of questions that understand how well I will manage things. For example, in a specific situation given that how would I manage those things. So such kind of questions were asked and it was a very brief description. I went on to the board, explained things, the past project which I worked on. I've explained everything in the board, giving a good diagram for him to understand the design and what we were doing. And it was a very interesting project which I worked at State Street because it was an AI team and I was able to build such an application. It was very interesting for me to explain it as well, and the recruiter also seemed to be very interesting. Post this round, it was almost like 6 o'clock, and I actually have to leave from Bangalore that day. And most of them, there were around 100 to 120 people in the team, but 100 to 120 people in the whole room. But going forward, I can see like by the time it was 6th, there were very few people, and almost like there is one more round which needs to be completed, which was like system design, and it was Saturday time. There were around very countable people, somewhere like 20, 30 people out of the 140 people whom I saw in the morning. What happened was the recruiter basically came in and then asked out like it's already 6 o'clock in the evening and we don't have any interviewers at that moment, and they asked us if it is okay to basically schedule this system design round alone online, and we most of us agreed, and then we actually left from the Uber campus. I came back to Chennai, and I had that one Sunday to prepare for my system design HLD round, which was actually a good time for me to revise through all the concepts. Especially I need to revise things like which DB to use at what time. So such kind of trade-offs all that I need to prepare well. So I was preparing that on that Sunday, And then I mailed the recruiter asking for the system design round, which was pending actually. And the recruiter responded back with the schedule for my interview, which was on Wednesday. And I completed the interview at that time. And it was a full-fledged system design interview round. And the question that came to my surprise was completely different. I think most people would have not received such a question before. So that was a very interesting round. I was able to explain things around many things around the question, though I can't mention the exact question, but it was something very modern enough to design. It was interesting. At the same time, it was challenging as well because I'll have to convince with the design. This system design did not actually have something a lot about how many requests, and capacity estimation was not the main concern of the system. Rather, it was about how distributed and how well it could actually process things that's being coming as an input. So it was such kind of processing model based question, basically a system design question. So I completed that interview online, and then after 1 or 2 days, the recruiter called me back stating that I have cleared the interviews, and I was very happy to hear. Then going forward, we had the salary negotiations and expectations, all that, and then I resigned from Amazon, and then I joined at Uber in Bangalore office. So I really liked the Uber interview experience, and even now they mostly hire offline in the campus only. They basically pull people to the office and take interviews as the common culture. So if you are actually preparing for your Uber interview, what you have to know is that it's going to be an offline interview. So be ready to travel and that. And that. Secondly, be good at the core subjects because those questions might not be directly asked, but coming to thread safety or anything as such, they will put you through some questions so that you will go and touch the concepts from operating systems and networks. Such kind of questions you can expect. And if you are called to an office, it is good because if you're from some other random company, not from these big companies, then you will have an opportunity to go and talk to all of them because everyone would be interested in understanding what the other people are doing in their teams. So it's a very good opportunity. Even if you don't crack the interview, I would suggest you to go attend the interview because it's a very good experience to go and meet those people. There you will find it very productive on that day. It will be a different experience from any other interviews that you had online. And be prepared for system designs and system design, especially for the LLD round. Be prepared to code and completely execute the solution no matter whatever the question it is. You have to execute the code and it should run properly. That is the expectation for the LLD round. Yes, that was about my interview experience at Uber. If you are willing to know more about any specific details about the interview, except the questions, go and comment down in the same video and share with your friends who are actually going to attend Uber interview as well. So thank you. If you are attending the interview, good luck. All the best. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and I'm planning to, I'll tell you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.